Yes, good evening once again. Sorry, good morning once again.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, today we will be discussing about the cases which I hope that you might have read about the cases during our last session on corporate governance. We had discussed that we will be first discussing about the major 2 3 cases related to corporate governance, and then we will start with the sessions. So I hope that every one of you has gone through with those cases. Which were those cases? Am I audible to all?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So during our last lecture, I hope that you remember or you can recall that during our last lecture we had discussed that first we will try to discuss 2 3 cases related to corporate governance so that sorry, you will come to know about the meaning or concept of corporate governance, and then we will start with the actual syllabus. So in the syllabus itself there are very famous 4 5 cases that uh, we already know that what cases we had to study or we had to discuss in class. So out of that 2 3 cases we had given you for homework that please come prepared on these cases. Try to get as much as you can the information related to those cases so that it will be easier for you to discuss in the class. Once you know about the root causes of these cases, then it will be easier for you to understand the meaning of the term corporate governance. Why it was necessary on the part of government to make certain rules and regulations related to corporate governance. Yes. Which were those cases? Okay, what is the meaning of corporate governance? I'm not talking about the definition of corporate governance. Whatever you feel that yes, this could be the meaning of corporate governance. It consists of two terms. One is corporate, the other one is governance. If you know the meaning of these two words, rest is very simple. Yes. Yes.
Corporate governance, or I can say, is a system of rule or practices and the process by which a firm directed and control.
Okay. Anything else? Yes, it is correct. Anything else? Corporate is what? What is corporate? Now, every one of you is aware of what is corporate. It is not a term which you are hearing for the first time. So, every one of you is aware of what is corporate. What is corporate?
We can say the board of directors of the company. So to make the company in a good way, sorry, कंपनी को अच्छी तरह से चलाने के लिए जो बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स होते हैं और जो रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस बनाते हैं उसको कॉर्पोरेट बोल सकते हैं हम.
उसको कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस बराबर.
नहीं, ओनली कॉर्पोरेट और कॉर्पोरेट
कॉर्पोरेट.
गवर्नेंस.
ओके. Anybody else?
It is a framework of company's objective.
Okay, you all are giving me definition. Simple meaning. एक वर्ड में क्या मतलब हो सकता है? Corporate is what? What is corporate? In simple words, we can say corporation can be called as corporate, organization can be called as corporate, company can be called as corporate. Governance is what? Everywhere governance is required. Without governance, no system can run properly. So that is why governance is required. So simple meaning of governance is a set of rules and regulation formed for a particular or for good working of an organization. So any rules or set of rules which are formed for proper working of corporations, organizations, companies is called as corporate governance. बहुत simple technical definition. In the next lecture we will be discussing that what is the definition of corporate governance. But in simple words, कोई भी कंपनी अगर है तो वो कंपनी कैसे चलानी चाहिए, क्या रूल्स रेगुलेशन होने चाहिए, उसी को रिलेटेड अगर हम लोग बोलेंगे तो दैट इज कॉल्ड एज कॉर्पोरेट एंड गवर्नेंस एंड इट्स गवर्नेंस. यस, कौन से थे वो दो तीन केसेस? अरे किसी को तो याद होगा.
cyber mystery dispute.
So Tata versus Cyrus Mistry
हाँ, वेरी
and
गुड.
Satyam case, Raju.
हाँ, यस. तो हाउ मेनी केसेस वर गिवन?
So 2 cases.
Okay, one was related to Tata Group and the other was related to Satyam.
Yes, sir.
So who has read the cases? These are very famous cases. If you are a student of MBA, it is expected that you should be aware of these cases. In an interview, if somebody asks you any question related to these cases, and if you are unable to answer, and if you say that you are not aware of these cases, that will be a very, very sorry situation. Because as a management graduate, as a business management student, you should be aware of what is happening in the business environment, not only in the country, but all over the world. Global perspective we will be discussing, but in, I think it is in fourth or fifth units that we will be discussing the corporate governance related to global perspective. Now we will limit our discussion to India only, or Indian companies only. Now I hope that everyone is aware of what has happened recently, say 3 4 or 4 5 years back, to Tata group of companies, and what has happened in the early 2000s to Satyam computers. I hope that everyone has heard the name of the company which is called as Satyam. Satyam का नाम सुना है सबने?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very good, very good. किसने सुना है बोलिए अभी. What was Satyam?
So Satyam was a software company
Satyam was a software company.
based
Okay.
Hyderabad.
Okay. Yes.
So
What was the case?
कंपनी के अंदर कुछ तो ये हुआ था सर, रिगार्डिंग टू द कंपनीज शेयर्स, और इसके रिगार्डिंग कुछ तो था, याद नहीं सर मुझे.
ओके, ठीक है. किसको याद है?
सर रियल एस्टेट में वो फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट मैनिपुलेट कर रहे थे, और जो
हाँ.
प्रॉफिट 60 करोड़ होगा तो वो 6,000 करोड़ दिखा रहे थे, और शेयर प्राइस इंक्रीज कर रहे थे वो.
हाँ.
और बाकी कोलेटरल अपॉन लोन लेकर उन्होंने प्रॉपर्टी खरीदी थी सर.
हाँ.
और मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग किया था, इनसाइडर ट्रेडिंग किया था उन लोगों ने, अकाउंटिंग
हाँ.
फ्रॉड भी किया था सर.
वेरी गुड.
और
So very good, Omkar. So you have read the case. Very good. Yes, anyone else? Okay, no one. Now, why this corporate governance gained importance? It is because of some very famous cases. The first case which we all can recall is the case of Big Bull. Now, everyone is aware of Harshad Mehta, or you might have heard about this person, Harshad Mehta, who was called as the Big Bull. His case in 1992 was the case which made the government to frame certain rules and regulations for the private entities too. For government organization, yes, there are certain rules and regulations which they need to follow. But once we started with implementation of LPG, I hope that everyone is aware of. In the year 1991, Government of India started implementing LPG. LPG is what? What is LPG? Every one of you is aware of. Just try to recall it. कोई नया concept नहीं है. सबको पता है कि क्या है LPG. चलिए LPG.
Petroleum gas.
Hello. Yes, Ankur.
The LPG petroleum gas, so.
नहीं.
Sir,
In nine.
liberalization, privatization, and globalization.
Very good. So that was the concept of LPG which the government of India started implementing in 1991. Before that, our economy was closed economy, and after implementation of LPG, our economy became a opened economy. Closed economy means foreign investors were not allowed to invest in Indian companies, or the rules and regulations were so strict that the foreign companies hesitated to invest in India before 1991. As the global companies were growing, global economy was growing, so India also decided that we should also open our economy. And that was the reason why the government started with implementation of LPG. And all of a sudden, when everything was opened because of liberalization, privatization, and globalization, the rules which were earlier very stringent, very strict, they were relaxed, and foreign companies were allowed to invest in Indian companies or Indian market. As the rules were very relaxed, some of the companies, they took the advantages of these relaxed rules to their benefit, to the benefit of particular persons. So they started manipulating some, and because of those manipulations, there was loss to the shareholders, loss to the companies, and a loss to the image of the country also. And then the government thought that yes, we should be starting with certain rules and regulation which will be playing a role of a monitoring system, that whether the organization is conducting its business properly or not. So a set of rules were formed, and a body was also separately formed, which will regulate the companies whether they are following these rules and regulations while conducting their business or not. It was not to harass the businessmen, it was not so strictly implemented. These were just the guidelines which are to be followed to check that the organization should move in a right direction and there should not be loss to the shareholders, or it should not negatively affect the image of the country. And that was the reason why SEBI came into existence. Later on, we will be talking about the starting of SEBI, or the roles and functions of SEBI, responsibilities of SEBI, that we will be discussing later on. Now, that was first reason, first scam, or first major scam we can say, was by Harshad Mehta. And then the next major scam, which made the government to make certain strict rules, that if these rules are broken, then the board of directors of the company, or owner of the company, or director of the company, or general manager of the company, or the main persons of the company can be punished severely by the law. And one of the cases that resulted, because of that, all these things resulted, was the Satyam Group, or Satyam Computers, as it was earlier known as. Now, as Omkar has rightly said, that they had manipulated the balance sheet to the extent to make the investors, to make the shareholders believe that the company is earning profits in crores and crores of rupees. Say if the profit was 100 crore, it was shown a profit of 1000 crore. So that way, the company was manipulating its balance sheet. Now, the reason behind why these manipulations was done was very simple. And the reason was that company wanted to increase the price of its share. Very simple, that if the company is progressing very fast, people will buy the company share very fast. And if more shares are bought of a particular company, automatically their share value increases. And if shares are sold more, if their value is increasing, the company is able to generate more capital. But the rule was that balance sheet not should not be manipulated. But still, Mr. Ramlinga Raju, who was the owner of Satyam Computers, he manipulated the balance sheets to make the investors believe that the company is hugely getting huge profits. So this all started in 2000s, early 2000s. In 90s, Satyam Computer was one of the topmost IT company of India, at par with Wipro, Infosys, and TCS. It was considered as one of the finest IT company of India, which was having clients in foreign countries also. But later on, when these malpractices started happening, that was the declining period for Satyam Computers. In 90s, it was one of the best companies to work in. It was one of the best company in terms of paying the employees. It was one of the best company in terms of service serving the clients. They were able to get clients, or they were the tough competitors for TCS, for Infosys, and for Wipro in 1990s. But as the company grew, the company wanted to expand because of open economy and because of lots and lots of foreign investment. The company thought that the real estate is one of the lucrative options. If they will invest in real estate, the returns will be very huge. And that was the reason why Mr. Ramlingaraju formed two companies which were dealing with real estate. And it is always said that when you are expanding your business, when you are going for expansion, you should always keep in mind that the expansion should not be so huge that it has gone out of your control. And you should always do the expansion in the field where you have knowledge, or of which you have knowledge. Ramlinga Raju was expert in IT, but he was not that expert when it turned to the real estate. In 2000, yes, real estate was booming, and he wanted to make his company number one company. And for that, he started investing hugely in the real estate also. So the profits of Satyam Computer were diverted to real estate business. But the real estate could not give the company the desired returns. And because of that, the company started losing the profits. But as it was one of the top company in the country, he didn't wanted that the investors should be aware of the fact that his real estate companies, or the money which has been invested in real estate, is not making profit. So he got an idea that for the time being, for 1 year, for 2 year, for 3 year, whatever he might have thought, for time being, when he can make the company again profitable, let's manipulate the balance sheets. So he started manipulating the balance sheets, where there were losses actually displayed or included in the balance sheet. He changed those losses, the figures of losses, into profits. That we are a company which is making 100 crores of profit, 200 crores of profit, 500 crores of profit. And because of that, the investors started investing in it. But later on, when the real estate company started making huge losses, real estate companies where Mr. Ramalinga Raju has made the investments, when they started making the losses, and when some cases were filed against the real estate companies, and on the investigation, when it was proved that he was making some manipulations in the balance sheets, then the inquiry was conducted the against the company, that is Satyam Computer, and it was proved that yes, he was making some manipulations. So later on, he was sent to prison also, and fine was also imposed on the company, and the company eventually went into losses. Not only the company was into losses, but because of that false manipulation, many of the shareholders, many of the investors, they lost their money too. Once this case was discussed or found, at that time the government made some changes in the existing rules, and then heavy penalty and punishment was imposed or included, that any person who indulges in such type of activities, that person is liable for heavy penalty as well as punishment. So we will now be discussing that after every famous case, how the corporate governance rules and regulations have changed. We will be discussing certain committees also, JJ Irani committee on corporate governance, then Narayan Murthy committee on corporate governance. So these we will be discussing to find out how these companies have changed the entire rules and regulations of corporate governance, or why the government was, after every committee, after 4 5 years or 6 years, why the government is constituting another committee just to check whether everything is correct in the industrial sector or not. If not, what are the recommendations of these committees? What all changes can be made in the existing rules and regulations related to corporate governance? That we will be discussing. So that was the case of Ramlinga Raju, the person who started his business from scratch, who reached at the top, but because of some bad decisions, and just to cover up those bad decisions, he started manipulations, and how these bad practices of governance in Satyam Computers led to the fall of a company which was at the top in 1990s. Now the second case is related to Tatas. Now this is a very famous case which I hope that everyone is aware of. Now who is going to start the टाटा केस? टाटा केस तो बहुत ही फेमस है, सबको पता है कि क्या हुआ था पेपर में भी आता था, मैगजीन्स में आता था।
सर टाटा वर्सेस साइंस मिस्टर केस में तीन टाइप
Wait,
में
wait, wait,
फ्रॉड
wait,
हुआ था।
wait, 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 wait. Wait, Omkar. Yes, anybody else? Let's give everyone a chance. Sixteen students are present, so equal chance should be given to each and everyone. Everyone was given the task that please come prepared for this particular case. If you search on Google, you will get lots and lots of information. अगर आप न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते होंगे तो you can very easily recall. अगर आप न्यूज़ देखते हैं तो you can very easily recall. व्हाट्सएप पे, यूट्यूब पे, फेसबुक पे, सबके ऊपर ये केस बहुत फेमस केस है, बहुत डिस्कस हुआ, बहुत वाइडली रिपोर्टेड हुआ, इसलिए एवरीवन शुड बी अवेयर ऑफ. यस, कौन बोलेगा? Now, this year, the institute has started one more thing, and that is that we have started the subscription of e-business magazines. बहुत सारे e-business magazine को हमने सब्सक्राइब किया है. The institute is paying a huge amount for that. दलाल स्ट्रीट जर्नल हो, एनएसई इंडेक्स हो, बिजनेस इंडिया, बिजनेस वर्ल्ड, ब्लूम्सबर्ग और ऐसे बहुत सारे, वॉल स्ट्रीट जर्नल, बहुत सारे मैगजीन्स हमने सब्सक्राइब किए. नाउ द रीजन बिहाइंड दिस सब्सक्रिप्शन इज, as you might have read in newspapers also, that because of this online teaching, the learning level of the student is declining, and because of this, in the interviews also it has been observed by various companies. You might have read in the recent newspaper articles also that why and how the employability skills of MBA and engineering graduate is steadily declining, and the reason behind is that the student are unable to update their skills or update their knowledge. So from our end, we have subscribed to these magazines, and very shortly, in this week only, we will be sending you the e-copies of these magazines also. So from our part, we are trying to do everything to make you aware of the happenings in the business world. Now it is up to you. If you want to read those magazines, very good. It will definitely be helpful to you. But if you are not reading or if you are ignoring the mails, then it is very difficult. पढ़ा है क्या आप लोगों ने आजकल न्यूज़पेपर में ये बहुत सारे आर्टिकल्स आ रहे हैं? किसी ने पढ़ा है क्या?
No, sir.
नहीं, ठीक है.
I haven't read.
कौन सा न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते हो बेटा? हेलो। अभी एक न्यूज बहुत वायरल हुआ, फोटो HDFC का वैकेंसी था। देखा है क्या किसी ने? HDFC की वैकेंसी है और वहां पर बोल्ड में लिखा हुआ है। बोल्ड में क्या लिखा है कि कोविड बैच, मतलब कि जो बच्चे ऑनलाइन से पास हो रहे हैं, दोज स्टूडेंट्स आर नॉट अलाउड फॉर द इंटर। ये देखा है क्या किसी ने न्यूज?
यस सर, देखा था।
देखा है?
व्हाट्सएप पे भी बहुत वायरल हो रहा।
व्हाट्सएप पे भी बहुत वायरल हुआ। क्यों ऐसा हुआ? उसका
बिकॉज दे
रीजन
आर
पता
लैकिंग
चला?
स्किल्स सर।
हाँ,
यस सर, in online student are not joining lectures and they are not upgrading themselves. That's the reason only.
वेरी गुड। बहुत ज्यादा वायरल हुआ ये, वेरी गुड अद्वैत। तो ऐसा अगर आप लोग पढ़ेंगे तो आप लोगों को पता चलेगा कंपनी ने जानबूझ के ऐसा नहीं किया है। वन ऑफ द रेप्यूटेड बैंक इन द कंट्री, इफ that company is highlighting this, there might be some reason behind it, and the reason was, क्या रीजन है उसका? बहुत सिंपल रीजन है। और सिंपल जस्टिफिकेशन क्या मिला है पता है आपको? कि इंटरव्यू में जब बच्चों को पूछा गया कि फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर के सब्जेक्ट्स के नाम बता दो, वो भी बताना नहीं आ रहा है। कौन सा एक्सटर्नल कौन सा इंटरनल कुछ पता नहीं। समर इंटर्नशिप में किया क्या है, आई एम नॉट अवेयर ऑफ। वैसा तो कुछ किया ही नहीं हमने। ऐसा सुनने के बाद ये दिया गया है। कंपनी ने बहुत सारे इंटरव्यूज लिए और वही एक कंपनी नहीं है, उन्होंने तो बोल्डली ऐसा कदम उठाया है सबके सामने। अब आप जब कंपनी में इंटरव्यू के लिए जाएंगे तब आपको पता चलेगा कि अब बहुत सारी कंपनी फॉलो कर रही है। वो प्रचार नहीं कर रहे इसका, पर फॉलो करना उन्होंने शुरू कर दिया है। इसमें क्या होगा कि जो सिंसियर है वो भी फंस रहे हैं। क्या आप उस बैच के हो क्या? 10 बच्चों को नहीं आया मतलब 11वें बच्चों को भी नहीं आएगा, ऐसा पकड़ के चल रहे हैं लोग, जो नहीं होना चाहिए। अब वो क्यों हो रहा है? तो रीजन सबके सामने है। उन्होंने प्रूव करके दिया कि अगर बच्चे को सिलेबस ही नहीं पता तो नॉलेज क्या होगा। तो अगर आपको नॉलेज गेन करना है, अगर अच्छे से अच्छी ओपनिंग चाहिए, बहुत सारी ओपनिंग्स हैं। ऐसा नहीं है कि अभी ओपनिंग बंद हो गई, बहुत ओपनिंग्स है, पर हर जगह आपका नॉलेज चेक किया जाएगा। प्लीज रिमेंबर दैट। अगर आप अपने नॉलेज को अपडेट कर सके, अपग्रेड कर सके, तो बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटीज है आपके लिए। और अगर नहीं कर सके तो फिर कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं। देन गो एंड कॉम्पीट विद SSC स्टूडेंट्स। बीपीओ में जॉब करो, SSC के स्टूडेंट के साथ 1.5 लाख का पैकेज एंजॉय करो साल का। दैट इज द क्लियर सिचुएशन नाउ।
यस सर, एक्चुअली बैच पूछ रहे हैं आजकल HR लोग कि कौन से बैच से पास आउट हो।
हाँ बेटा,
फर्स्ट
उसके
दिन।
पीछे रीजन है। क्या रीजन है? तो यही रीजन है ना, क्योंकि कंपनी, अब जस्ट इमेजिन, अब सपोज एक कंपनी है, बहुत बड़ी IT कंपनी है, उसको 100 अभी फ्रेश ग्रेजुएट्स चाहिए, 100 ग्रेजुएट्स। अब अगर 100 ग्रेजुएट्स वो लोग लेने के लिए पहुंच जाते हैं किसी कॉलेज में, और पूरा बैच ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन में गया है, सबको 70% नहीं, 80, 90, 95% मार्क्स है। अब 90% मार्क्स वाले स्टूडेंट से क्या एक्सपेक्टेड है कंपनी को? कि बहुत अच्छा स्टूडेंट होना चाहिए, एकेडमिक्स में इतना अच्छा है तो उसका नॉलेज तो एकेडमिक्स में बहुत अच्छा है। अब 90% वाला स्टूडेंट अगर सब्जेक्ट्स के नाम ना बता सके तो कंपनी फ्रस्ट्रेट नहीं होगी? दे आर इन्वेस्टिंग ह्यूज मनी इन अरेंजिंग इंटरव्यूज, इन कंडक्टिंग इंटरव्यूज, in screening your application, in they are investing hugely in training the person who is hired. 15 दिन की 10 दिन की जो ट्रेनिंग देते हैं उसमें भी तो पैसा लगता है। जब इतना इन्वेस्टमेंट किया जा रहा है तो कंपनी क्या चाहती है कि अच्छे से अच्छा कैंडिडेट मिले। अब एक एचआर एक कंपनी का जाता है, एक कॉलेज में 100 बच्चे इंटरव्यू करता है, एक भी उसे बच्चा पसंद नहीं आता, पर उस एचआर के शायद 10 दोस्त होंगे जो अलग अलग कंपनीज में एचआर होंगे, वो उनको भी मैसेज डाल देता है कि कुछ मतलब नहीं है। जिन्होंने इंटरव्यू नहीं लिया उनके मन में भी वो ये आ जाता है कि नहीं, ऑनलाइन मतलब कुछ भी नहीं आता बच्चों को, और वैसा प्रूव होते जा रहा है। दिस इज द रियल पिक्चर। हमारे को भी इंटरव्यू कॉलेज में अगर ऑर्गेनाइज करना हो तो पहले ही हमारा इंटरव्यू होता है और बाद में दूसरे का होता
यस सर, एक्चुअली वो 2016-17 बैच से अभी लेना चाहते हैं लोगों को, क्योंकि करंट बैच दे आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड, ऐसे मैंने भी सुना है मीटिंग
है।
से।
वेरी गुड, वेरी गुड। मतलब आप अभी तक इस पिक्चर में हो, कान आपके खुले हुए हैं, आंखें आपकी खुली हुई हैं, बहुत अच्छा है। बाकी कान बंद आंख बंद ऐसा रहेगा तो सिचुएशन अलार्मिंग है। इसमें कॉलेज की कोई गलती नहीं है। हम लोग हमारी तरफ से पूरा कोशिश कर रहे हैं। अभी मैनेजमेंट को ऐसा लगा, डायरेक्टर सर का भी एक सजेशन था कि बच्चे अभी घर पर हैं तो हम लोग उनको कुछ एक्स्ट्रा दे सकते हैं क्या। तो एक टाइप हुआ कि ठीक है, ऑनलाइन ई मैगजीन्स मंगाएंगे हम लोग, सब्सक्राइब हम करेंगे और बच्चों को फ्री में देंगे। आप अगर वो मैगजीन्स भी पढ़ते हैं तो बहुत नॉलेज आप गेन कर सकते हैं, अगर नहीं तो फिर कुछ नहीं हो सकता। केसेस क्यों पढ़ के आने चाहिए, क्योंकि इसी से नॉलेज बढ़ने वाला है, नहीं तो इट विल बी वन वे। 40 लेक्चर का हम लोग 10-15 लेक्चर में खत्म कर देंगे, खत्म हो गया आप सिलेबस। समझा नहीं समझा हमारे को कोई मतलब नहीं है, क्योंकि इट शुड बी टू वे। जब तक आप पढ़ोगे नहीं, जब तक आप समझोगे नहीं, तब तक आपको समझ में आएगा नहीं। आप वहां पर टीवी देख रहे हैं, सिर्फ लॉगिन कर दिया है, बाहर घूम रहे हैं, लॉगिन कर दिया है, हमारे को भी कुछ पता नहीं चलेगा। We will think that we have delivered the session very well, but if the student is not learning out of it, then the lecture is not at all delivered well. Please remember that. ठीक है, तो हम लोग तो हमारी तरफ से पूरी कोशिश करेंगे ही। आप लोग अपनी तरफ से कोशिश करो, जितना ज्यादा नॉलेज गेन कर सकते हो कोशिश करो उतना ज्यादा बढ़ाने की, नहीं तो सिचुएशन इज अलार्मिंग। आई एम टेलिंग यू अगेन एंड अगेन। Yes, anybody who knows about the Tata case, which is related to corporate governance, except ओमकार। ओमकार को छोड़ के अगर किसी ने पढ़ा है तो बोलिए। यस, नो, 15 बच्चे हैं, किसी ने नहीं पढ़ा है, किसी को पता भी नहीं है, कुछ रफ आइडिया कभी
यस सर,
टीवी में सुना हो।
यस सर, साइरस मिस्त्री को टाटा ग्रुप का ये कर दिया था जब
क्या
अथॉरिटी
क्या
मिली थी, तब सम कुछ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स हुए सर रिगार्डिंग टू द क्या बोल सकते हैं इनसाइड द कंपनी की शेयर, क्योंकि साइरस मिस्त्री ज्यादा शेयर होल्ड करते थे शायद, आई थिंक सर। नॉट
हाँ
श्योर। सो उसकी वजह से कुछ तो प्रॉब्लम हो गए इनसाइड ऑफ द कंपनी, उसकी
हाँ
वजह से उनको हटा दिया गया। ये बहुत साल पहले मैंने पढ़ा था, अभी याद नहीं आ रहा है सर, बस
हाँ।
इतना ही याद है सर अभी।
अच्छा, और वेरी गुड, बराबर है ये। और किसी को कुछ, और किसी को? यस, एनीबडी एल्स? गर्ल्स? यस, गर्ल्स। So good to see that boys are reading. Very good. गर्ल्स, गर्ल्स हैं क्या क्लास में अभी?
Yes, sir.
ओके ओके, यस, गर्ल्स आर देयर। So no one has yes, Omkar, what you have read about this?
सर टाटा केस में तीन पॉइंट हुए थे सर। उन्हें टाटा पावर एंड वेलस्पन और टाटा डोकोमो जापान एंड कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, तीन टाइप में केस हुआ था सर। पहले
हाँ
2013 में 2016 में 9,249 करोड़ में टाटा ने वेलस्पन को परचेस किया और वो टाटा सन्स के बोर्ड के सामने नहीं आया, इसके कारण उन्हें कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो गया था। दूसरी बात, टाटा डोकोमो डोकोमो इन्वेस्टमेंट 2000 जापान की कंपनी थी, उसने $2.7 बिलियन और परचेस किया था, 26.5% स्टेक परचेस किया था सर
हाँ
2.7 बिलियन डॉलर्स में। उन्होंने कहा
हाँ
था अगर सेट टारगेट अचीव नहीं हुआ तो 1.3 बिलियन डॉलर्स को टाटा को पे करना पड़ेगा। अगर अगर वो टारगेट अचीव हो गया तो 51% स्टेक उनको मिलेगा। लेकिन आरबीआई के रूल चेंज होने के कारण प्राइस डिसाइडेड वो अलाउड नहीं हुआ है हो पाया उनको।
ओके, और
और
थर्ड?
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट में टाटा और शेपोरजी पालोनजी विल बी डिफरेंट, ऐसा उन्होंने बोला था कि टाटा और शेपोरजी का जो डॉक्यूमेंट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट का डॉक्यूमेंट है सो वो अलग रहेगा सर, लेकिन वो ऐसा नहीं हो
हाँ
पाया। टाटा के कुछ डॉक्यूमेंट शेपोरजी पालोनजी के ग्रुप के पास गए थे, उसके कारण वो कॉम्प्यूटर हो गया
हाँ।
और कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ
सब
इंटरेस्ट इसके कारण। हेलो
ठीक है, वेरी गुड, मीन्स यू हैव read the case very well. Very good. Yes, now Omkar, you just be quiet, huh? Who is Shaporji Palonji? नाम सुना है शापोर जी पलोंजी? ओमकार को छोड़ के किसने सुना है शापोर जी पलोंजी? Anyone who has heard the name शापोर जी पलोंजी? सुना है? अरे पूना में भी है शापोर जी पलोंजी।
यस सर, पुणे में है, हिंजेवाड़ी।
क्या है वो? अद्वैत,
सर
यस
वो
यस।
इन्वेस्टर से आई थिंक सर,
क्या
नॉट
है?
इन्वेस्टर से आई थिंक।
अच्छा, किस में इन्वेस्टर है?
उतना आइडिया नहीं सर। ये जो ये टाटा भी इन्वेस्ट करते हैं और ये मिस्त्री फैमिली से बिलोंग करते हैं, इतना पता है। और साइरस मिस्त्री का इसकी वजह से ही तो ज्यादा शेयर था, क्योंकि
हाँ
ही ओज मोर शेयर्स इन
हाँ
टाटा ग्रुप।
हाँ
सो दैट्स वो एक रीजन था उनको बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर में ऐड करने का, एक बड़ा रीजन था। बट कुछ इंटरनल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट थे, जैसे ओमकार ने बताए, उसकी
हाँ
वजह से। और वो खुद की कर रहे थे, ऐसा न्यूज में सुना था। सो
हाँ।
दैट्स द रीजन उनको चेयरमैन से हटा दिया गया।
वेरी गुड। तो शापोर जी पलोंजी, यस गर्ल्स, हु इज शापोर जी पलोंजी? Shapoorji Pallonji is a very famous construction company of the country. It is the single largest company which is holding most of the Tata shares outside the Tata family. टाटा फैमिली के बाहर, टाटा सन्स के बाहर, टाटा ट्रस्ट के बाहर, टाटा की जो फैमिली है उनके बाहर अगर किसी के पास सबसे ज्यादा टाटा ग्रुप ऑफ कंपनीज के शेयर्स है तो वो कंपनी है शापोरजी पलोनजी कंपनी. वन ऑफ द वेरी फेमस, one of the oldest construction company of the country, which was owned by the family of Mr. Cyrus Mistry. साइरस मिस्त्री की फैमिली ओन करती है. पूरे इंडिया में इनके प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं. आज भी पूना में भी रियल एस्टेट में सबसे ज्यादा इन्वेस्टमेंट इनका है. मतलब कंपनी का जो मेन फोकस है दैट इज रियल एस्टेट. पूना में भी कई प्रोजेक्ट्स शापोरजी पलोनजी कंपनीज के चल रहे. नाउ द रीजन बिहाइंड द डिस्प्यूट बिटवीन द टाटा सन्स और द बोर्ड, टाटा बोर्ड and the chairman who was Mr. Cyrus Mistry. So dispute part we will discuss later on. First, we will discuss why this gentleman called Cyrus Mistry was hired as the chairman or appointed as the chairman of the Tata Board of Companies. The reason was not that he is having the highest stake after Tata family, after Tata sons in the Tata group of companies. The reason, that could be one of the reasons, but there were many reasons. And one of the reason is that he was the finest suited businessman who can take the control of Tata companies as chairman at that particular moment, and it was decided by the board of Tata Group. Various interview rounds were taken. You will be surprised to know that it took around 3 years to finalize this position. And for this position, Cyrus Mistry was not the only person who was interviewed. There were some foreign professionals also. The CEOs of world's best of the best companies were also interviewed by the Tata board for the position of chairman of Tata Group of Industries. And the reason was that Mr. Ratan Tata has informed the board that after 70, he wants to step down as the chairman of the Tata Group of Companies. Whereas the board wanted Mr. Ratan Tata to continue. But he was of the opinion that as he was nearing 70s, the company should look out for a new chairman who can make the company more profitable. And for that, around for 3 years, the company started searching for the right candidate. Various CEOs of reputed companies all over the world were interviewed. because the person will be designated as chairman of one of the largest companies in the world, or one of the largest conglomerate in the world. Now, Mr. Cyrus Mistry was found that he is very much suitable for the position, and after number of interviews, this position was finalized. Now, as Omkar has studied the case, he has given the 3 points also, that because of these 3 points, there was a conflict, there was a dispute between Tata Group and Mr. Cyrus Mistry, and he has to step down, or we can say that he himself didn't step down, but he was forced by the board that he should leave the position of the, or quit the position of chairman. So we will continue in the next session. So by then, I once again request you that please come prepared for the case. The case will be same, plus come prepared for another case also, and the case related to Kingfisher Airlines and Fortis, Fortis, Fortis. So we will try to cover the 3 cases. We will complete this Tata Group versus Cyrus Mistry, plus we will be discussing about Fortis and Kingfisher Airlines, and then we will start with the our actual sessions, right? So please come prepared for the next lecture. Maybe tomorrow, if we are having session, come prepared tomorrow. We will try to complete this particular case, right? So
Yes, sir.
thank you for everyone. Thank you for joining today's session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.